in an allergy season with asthma. Yeah. Have you? Okay, yeah. Yeah. It's maybe like we'll I go fingers crossed this week starting. But next week after I might have some. Yeah. Thank you.
Good evening. I would like to call this meeting of the Huntersville Town Board to order. Please join us for a moment of silence. Now, if you will please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank you for joining us. If you will please take a moment, take your phones out, turn them on vibrate or off. We would greatly appreciate that. Everyone up here will do the same. I'd like to now move to staff questions. Board members, does anyone have questions for staff this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will move to public comments, requests for presentations. We are moving item 6A, which is a presentation of police awards. We will be moving that to our next meeting. Some of our officers were not able to get here this evening, so we will take that up at our next board meeting. So we'll move to item 6B, which is a proclamation. And this is for Women's History Month. Whereas Women's History Month is a dedicated month to reflect on the often overlooked contributions of women to the United States history. From Abigail Adams to Susan B. Anthony, Sojourner Truth to Rosa Parks, the timeline of women's history milestones stretches back to the founding of the United States. And whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas American women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere in the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. And whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation, and whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation, and whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military, And whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements which create a more fair and just society for all. Now, therefore, I, Melinda Bales, Mayor of the Town of Huntersville, do hereby proclaim March of 2023 as Women's History Month in the Town of Huntersville and commend its observance of all citizens. And for all of you women who are sitting here in this room this evening, you play an integral part in our history. And I want to take a moment to say thank you for all you do for our community and for our country. Thank you. We are now going to move into public comments. And you just give me a moment to get situated. We have quite a number of folks who have signed up to speak this evening. The first person who has signed up to speak is Stephen Hines. Mr. Hines, if you will please make your way to the podium here. You have 3 minutes, and if you'll please state your name and address for the record. Greatly appreciate it. And Mayor Pro Tem Phillips is got your clock right there.
Thank you very much. My name is Stephen Hines. I'm a resident of Burkdale Village at 8319 Camberley Road in Burkdale. I'd like to speak in favor of the development. It seems that we've gotten caught up in a whirlwind of negativity and against improvements and against advancements in our society. I hate to see that happen to Burkdale. I hate to see it stagnate. I hate to see our property values go down. The problems that we are facing, what most people are against, are the office building and the hotel. Part of the problem, as I see it, is that that's the part that would help vitalize Burkdale and help vitalize the downtown area and attract the businesses, upgrade the restaurants, and the activities and the benefits to living in Burkdale Village, which is why people move there. Certainly one of the reasons why I moved there. And it's the apartment buildings that are going to bring all the problems, but you all, as I understand it, don't have the ability to say no to those. So I hate to see the good part, the part that'll help vitalize the community, be voted down just because of problems which are going to be brought in by something that you all can't control. And when we talk about problems with the parking, well, if we're going to get the parking that's set aside for the apartments isn't going to meet the needs of the apartments. And so what we need other parking facilities which come from the hotel, which come from the office building. And when you talk about the traffic problems, well, when Sam Furr, by the time all this development gets done, we're going to be in the throes of the development of Sam Furr Road, and that's going to cause horrendous problems. As I see it, as I understand, when they do away with the left turn lanes and things like that, people aren't going to be able to go out of Burkdale Village if that's the case and turn left onto Sam Furr. So we're going to have traffic problems that are presented by issues beyond, once again, your control, unless you all get some say-so in how Sam Furr Road is developed. And so I hate to see us lose the benefits of the taxes that hotels will bring into the city, the taxes that office building and offices and businesses will bring into the city that will be built in those things, and we're stuck with the problems because of the apartments that come in. So I definitely think that we need to consider these, that Huntersville needs to move forward, not backward, and that we say yes to the development. Thank you very much.
I apologize for that. Thank you, sir. The next person who has signed up to speak is Taylor Judd. Ms. Judd, as you come, you have 3 minutes, and if you'll please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Taylor Judge. I live at 17222 Calverton Road in Huntersville. I'm a Greens at Burkdale Village homeowner. And I'm just using a little bit of notes. I have felt very incredibly lucky to be a homeowner right next to the Birkdale Village. Since being a homeowner in the area, I've seen the equity of my home almost double, and that's only about 2.5 years. I believe the updates in Birkdale Village have played a big part in that. I'm here to say that I'm in favor of the updates NIP has planned. My peers who live in Charlotte are dying to move to the area. They are attracted to the high-end restaurants, the shopping, and the events. So I don't think that's going anywhere, but I'm also the social chair of my neighborhood, and my role is to bring neighbors together and create a better quality of life for those who live in my community. And I think that the changes in Birkdale so far, and the ones that they have planned are doing the same thing. I'm in favor of change in general, especially if it's going to increase my quality of life. And in the end, the only thing constant is change. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person who has signed up to speak is Leslie Williams. As you come, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Leslie Williams. I live in the Cape in Huntersville. It's about 10 minutes from Birkdale. I've been a resident of Huntersville for over 15 years. I'm here this evening because, like many of my friends and neighbours, we were delighted to read towards the end of last year that tired old Birkdale was the subject of huge investment in remodelling. Like many others, we were confident our town representatives were in favour, particularly when messages of unanimous support from the planning board were in the media. Birkdale is a unique amenity and a gem, and like all good gems, it needs polishing to be its best. Investment and improvement were long overdue. However, we are now equally dismayed to hear that the investment in remodelling is now being progressively scaled back, not by the developer's choice, but due in part to negative pressure from a vocal minority. I'm here not because I don't have anything better to do this evening, but because I felt the necessity to try and balance the voices you're hearing from. Thanks to this investment, finally, we have public restrooms and baby-changing facilities, a proper green where we can sit and enjoy local artists and events, kid-sized tables and chairs where they can enjoy their ice creams without sitting on a bench where their feet don't even touch the ground. Reduced street parking means less traffic in the centre, which makes it safer for pedestrians and families with children. Cars in a community development like Birkdale belong in a parking deck. We are excited by an influx of different and exciting tenants, better aesthetics, landscaping, and more. Finally, we hear of new tenants choosing South Lake Norman instead of always reading about South Park, South End, South Lane. But to attract those good tenants and keep them here, the commercial environment will support them. That means when the apartment tenants are out during the day, office tenants pick up their coffee from Starbucks, frequent the restaurants, hold business lunches, run errands for that birthday gift, slip out to exercise at the bar. To continue to be successful, retail dollars need to be constant, not just evenings, weekends, and holidays. The local employment and revenue that stands to be generated by these improvements are significant. Property taxes, sales taxes, which whether directly or indirectly will benefit all Huntersville residents, whether they're put into our classrooms, road improvements, sidewalks, greenways, or park. It would be hugely disrespectful to all Huntersville residents if these jobs and taxes go to another town or are lost altogether. It's not like Birkdale is a greenfield development. This is an existing real estate. The debate over improvements should be much less controversial. Thanks to the attention brought to Birkdale, this is now on many Huntersville residents' radar and this administration's report card. To the average Huntersville resident, including myself, I'm not educated on which department is responsible for the vote on this particular application, but we look to you all as collective representatives to work together for the best outcome for all Huntersville residents. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person who has signed up to speak is Shonda Pope. As you come, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thanks. I'm Shanda Pope, 16846 Bridgeton Lane, right behind Birkdale. Also, I have another property, 9936 in Huntersville, North Carolina. I've been in Huntersville for 15 years, and I thank you for taking the time to listen to us tonight. Like all of you, I was excited, super excited. That's why I moved to Huntersville over 15 years ago. I think it's great I thought they were gonna do like the movie theater that really needs an upgrade. It's bad, right? Which I found out NAP doesn't own the movie theater. They don't own that building. Not at all. They don't own some of the other buildings in Brookdale either. They're just gonna let them sit, look brown, and just sit there? They're not gonna make them change to make an aesthetic like the charming Brookdale that it was? Brookdale didn't need NAP. NAP needed Brookdale. Shops were full. It was already crazy busy. Traffic on 73, yes. It's crazy. I was there at 2:30 today. 73 was already backed up, all the way back and forth. I was here this morning taking pictures, 10:30 this morning. This up looks like a craft project from 101 elementary grade school, what we work on. We have buildings that are painted blue. We have brown buildings with white buildings. They own these buildings, but they haven't taken the time to paint them. What are they waiting for? What's Williams-Sonoma just sitting there? They own that building. Why haven't they painted it? It's been 7 months. They said that there's a permit we're about the water feature. I don't see a permit in the public record on here. It says no permit is holding. And that's what they said, the fountain is not done yet. But there's no permit in the public record here that states that they're waiting for it to be fixed. What about the other buildings they said last time? They said, we're waiting for permits. I can only find one permit for one person coming in. I am so agreeant. I pay taxes on 2 properties in Huntersville. I moved here because I love it. I love here. I'm a small business owner. I support small business. If I want to go to Louis Vuitton and Cartier, I can drive to South Park. I can fly to Italy. I can afford that stuff. I don't want that. And I don't think everyone else does either. That's what's so cute. It's charming, aesthetic. All the places around Huntersville are adorable, houses, cute, set up, beautiful places. Why do we want to be the next Avalon in Alpharetta, Georgia? Or we want to go to Ohio? Have you looked at some of the NAP's properties that they've done? I don't think anything's such a wow. They said that they build in thriving things.
Thank you very much. The next person who is, this is not interactive, folks, not interactive. So please take that outside if you need to. The next person who has signed up to speak is Sheila Wilson. Ms. Wilson, as you come, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Sheila Wilson. It's 8148 Evanston Falls. I am a homeowner in the Greens at Birkdale Village. I'm here tonight in support of the continued development of Birkdale Village. I don't want this area to be passed by. I want to see continued growth and prosperity. I want my property value to continue to be strengthened and sustained by the vitality and viability of the village. I am a super user of the village space: retail, restaurants, services, events. I've skated on the ice rink. I've sampled local restaurants at last fall's charity events, cheered for Santa lighting the tree, enjoyed many summer evenings listening to bands under the oaks, and every day, my dogs lead me directly to the concierge desk where Jade and Jamie wait for us with treats. They know us by name, me and the dogs. We saw what happened when the previous village owners didn't put time and money into maintaining. We now have a company that has increased the usability and enjoyment factor for everyone, whether they are spending money in the village or not. The green space by the stage is packed with families and little kids playing, folks just enjoying the sun or watching the game on the big screen. I lead economic development programs across the country for a Fortune 10 company as a government affairs director. I see firsthand the direct, indirect, and induced impacts of money invested in communities. Why on earth are we making it so hard to do in our own backyard? I look forward to seeing the village continue to evolve and would certainly hope this board would support those efforts. The little development that time forgot is not a good look for the village, and it's not a good look for Huntersville. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person who is signed up to speak is Earl Genois. Mr. Genois, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Errol Genois, 8537 Camberley Road. Please vote against rezoning the Greens at Burkdale Village. I appeal to the Huntersville Town Board and the mayor to agree with the recommendation of your planning board to, quote, deny the rezoning request for 8.2 acres from Townley to Lindholm to build a 110-foot office building and a 70-foot parking garage that any other tall buildings in the future that Superman will have a hard time leaping over. Please examine the legitimacy of the compelling evidence that begs for the survival of the village. 1, acknowledge the real facts that infer and imply the need to reject rezoning. And 2, quote, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. www.thefencepost.com. Whoever realistically heard of a village that required a looming office building and a parking deck? Is there a silent intention that the village homes will disappear unless the councilwomen, the councilmen, and the mayor vote against rezoning? Thank you.
Thank you. And the next person who has signed up to speak is Suzanne Viller. And my understanding is that Merlin Viller, you are here as well, and you are deferring your time to her. Okay. So, Ms. Viller, you have 6 minutes. And as you come, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening again. I'm Suzanne Viller, and I live at 17130 Bridgeton Lane. As the Town Council considers North American Properties' latest rezoning request, I'm asking you to support the Planning Board's recommendation that this petition is inconsistent with multiple 2040 policies, is not reasonable or in the public interest, substantially exceeds the maximum heights for urban workplace and storefront buildings, and is not in the spirit of the regulations. The Planning Board's reasoning certainly reflects the conclusions of so many who live in, near, or frequent Burkdale to shop, eat, and recreate. We've witnessed firsthand the carnage NAP has already wreaked on traffic, parking, and aesthetics. Consequently, I'm here again tonight to encourage the Town Council to deny NAP's petition. In early 2022, North American Properties began construction of multiple projects scheduled to be completed by last Memorial Day weekend. 2 of their jewel box structures and the fountain feature remain incomplete, essentially abandoned, and poorly secured, and have been in this condition for a full 6 months. NAP's lack of commitment to completing their projects or providing for the basic safety of their guests shows clearly in these photos. This morning, like all sunny mornings, the plaza was filled with families with small children. In the top photo, by actual count, there were more than 36 toddlers within baby steps of the open, abandoned, and unsecured fountain pit, which still contains water from last week's rain. Meanwhile, formerly thriving businesses are replaced by empty storefronts. The first 2 kiosk tenants, Beck on Main and Cosmo Gypsy, vacated their spaces without announcement last week after less than 9 months of occupancy. There are now far more vacancies in the village than there ever were before North American Properties took over. This is not a sign of a vital development. This situation represents a serious disservice to the town and its residents. And now, NAP wants rezoning approval to start even larger and more ambitious projects before the originally permitted projects are anywhere near completion. As you know, NAP is asking to build a 110-foot Class A office building, which will clearly dwarf every other structure in the village. They also want you to approve a start time extension from the standard 2 years to 5 years. NAP's explanation for needing the extra time is that they can't get financing until the rezoning is approved, and they can't solicit tenants until they get financing. Many of us dispute the need for additional Class A office space, especially in Birkdale Village. But for the sake of argument, let's imagine that there is pent-up demand for Class A space, as NAP and their paid consultants claim. If that were true, corporations and realtors would already be trying to reserve space with NAP, but that clearly is not happening. And NAP is demonstrating a lack of confidence in their own ability to attract tenants, hence the request for the seriously protracted 5-year start date. Further, Class A office space that NAP is proposing is not targeted at local businesses, as the rates for rent and TICAM, meaning taxes, insurance, common area maintenance fees, would be far out of reach for local businesses and would be better targeted toward larger entities who can afford urban office space. If a financial analysis of the vision of Birkdale with the original zoning limitations did not suit North American Properties, excuse me, one of our commissioners has left the dais. Can we interrupt my time until he returns?
He may have went to the restroom, so.
Right. I would say continue, please.
Noted, thank you. If a financial analysis of North American Properties' vision of Birkdale with the original zoning limitations did not suit NAP's business model, they should not have bought into Birkdale Village in the first place. For while NAP certainly has a right to request rezoning, they have no right to expect that it will be granted. Lack of due diligence and poor financial planning on NAP's part does not create an obligation for the town of Huntersville or the taxpayers to subsidize North American Properties' bottom line by granting them rezoning that is so out of character for the village. Once again, I ask you to deny this rezoning request. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person who has signed up to speak is Brian Rice. And Mr. Rice, it's my understanding that Shannon Rice is deferring her time as well. Thank you so very much. You have 6 minutes, sir, and if you'll please state your name and address for the record.
Before I get started, again, request that my time doesn't start until the commissioner comes back.
Unfortunately, we'll defer to you.
He will receive the minutes, which will have your comments included in them.
Duly noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Rice, 17232 Bridgeton Lane, Huntersville. Mayor and Commissioners, here we are again. My message is the same. Please say no to this proposal for the Birkdale Village redevelopment. However, I'd like to point out a few additional reasons to say no to this proposal, as is, and at this juncture. During the planning board meeting last week, both the planning staff and planning board recommended a denial of this proposal. While there were discussions about a technicality and it's a good project, the fact is that both groups recommended a denial. That's 2 other groups in the town, besides some of the citizens you see here, and those that have signed our petition, over 1,625, that say no. Please consider these facts. Furthermore, I believe the town was presented with the latest NCDOT plan for improving Sanford Road. I believe this proposal makes the no decision even more clear. From last week's meeting, glad I have extra time. In the proposal, NCDOT are proposing more right turns and less left turns out of the development. This was apparently based on their simulation that took only one day, Tuesday, April 5th, 2022, as a data point. So they did their whole simulation based on one day. I'm not sure that tells the entire story, but that's kind of out of our control, as others have said. What is in our control is our common sense. Just imagine the effect that this has on traffic into and out of Birkdale Village. Only Lindholm can turn left, right, with the closure of the traffic circle, right? And this means that this can mess traffic up all the way back to the movie theater on Cranlin And that's how it was on Saturday when I was trying to leave. As for Birkdale Village Commons Parkway, NCDOT proposes a right turn. So Birkdale Village Commons, a right turn that will have the impact of pushing traffic further west on Sam Fur, as drivers try to find a less congested U-turn spot. Of course, the safety of U-turns is well documented. In fact, that's why roundabouts, or traffic circles, are the more popular traffic alternative. As mentioned by Suzanne from the last meeting, NAP does not currently have any potential leads to fill up that one thing that they have left, this office building, or this office space. Like Suzanne said, according to NAP, they can't get the funding until they get the building 50% pre-leased, and they can't get it pre-leased without the zoning. And they're asking for 5 years instead of 2 years to get this done. If this is the case, why not wait for phase 1 to complete? That's what most people have been talking about already. All the extra sausage company that's coming, and the beer garden, and the cheesecake factory, right? Why not just wait for that and see how it goes? Remind us how great the water feature is. Now, I want to mention, they call it a water feature. When we were there at Pier 1 a few years ago, we said, is that a splash pad? Because our kids love to run around in a splash pad. And Tim Perry from NAP said, well, it's a water feature. So is it a water feature? Is it a splash pad? Are kids going to be able to play in it or not? I don't know. Okay? But again, let's wait. We can say no. The board can say no. NAP will come back. You're not missing out on anything, right? They can come back with a new plan, a new proposal. And in that time, as residents of Birkdale and Birkdale Village, we can see how great the sausage company is. We can see how great the new beer garden is. We can see how great the water feature is, right? We can see how that impacts our tax revenue, because that's what it's all about, right? It's all about generating more tax revenue. And you know what? Maybe we can generate the tax revenue without the office space. As far as the traffic, adding an office space, won't that just make traffic worse for us? And for all of us that live at the Greens in Birkdale Village, whether you're in Huntersville or you're in Cornelius, it's the only two ways we have to get out. That's it. We can't get out any other way. So if you're going to put more office buildings or office space, and you have less parking, you have more traffic, how are we going to get out? So with these points, the denial recommendation by the staff and the board, and the poor NCDOT plan rezoning Birkdale to accommodate more traffic will only serve to drive less guests to the property, and thereby lowering tax revenue that was, and still can be, the crown jewel of Huntersville. So please deny this request, have them finish what they started so we can see how this impacts our tax revenue, and let NAP come back with a proposal that meets current zoning guidelines. As a citizen of Huntersville that has more than most to gain by improved development of Birkdale Village, I live 200 yards away. My house, the Greenway, the village. This is not the right development, and it's not the right time for this development. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next person who has signed up to speak is Peter Romanello. And my understanding is Christine Romanello is here, and you've given your 3 minutes. Correct. Thank you. Sir, you have 6 minutes, and if you'll please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Peter Romanello, and I live at 15821 Trenton Place Road. To note, I have given copies of drawings to the town clerk for each one of you on the dais. You have all heard our comments and concerns about traffic, parking, and aesthetics over the past several months. And in researching this further, I'm of the strong opinion that the proposal from North American Properties R2201 does not align with the specific guidelines and standards that were established in the Town of Huntersville 2040 Community Plan. As quoted from the plan, the 2040 Community Plan is meant to establish a framework for growth and development while maintaining the character and livability of the town that Huntersville residents hold so dear. The proposed 110-foot-tall Class A office building does not maintain the character of the town nor the area where it would be located. Through its previous alterations to Birkdale Village, NAP has not demonstrated the ability to use aesthetic awareness, and there is no evidence that the proposed building will be designed with proper aesthetics in mind. On page 64 of the plan, yeah, I read all of it, it states that Birkdale Village provides, quote, an example of a mixed-use center that was designed according to form-based design principles. There is no indication at NAP that their proposed office building will follow the same form-based design principles. They have presented representative images to you, but have also stated in town meetings that they cannot be used to show exactly what the building will look like. So I've taken it upon myself to create scaled images of the building that are far more precise and accurate than what NAP has provided. To note, I am a professional architectural lighting designer and an owner of Conceptual Lighting. We are well-trained and proficient in doing renderings like this. As you can see from the renderings, which I'll hold up, and again, you have copies of them, we have removed the inaccurate representation from the original design that included a hotel and an apartment building, which were removed a couple months ago, sir. In doing so, you can clearly see how out of place the building feels in comparison to its surrounding environment. In the next two renderings, you can see an accurate, scaled representative of the office building rendering that NAP continues to promote on the left-hand side in place of the Barnes & Noble building. First, the rendered building provided by NAP is only an 80-foot tall building, okay? Not 110 feet. We have shown that 80-foot tall building and then highlighted where the top of the building would actually sit in green at 110 feet. That is not what they're representing on their proposal. Some of us have been noting that the 110-foot building is 2.4 times the height of the tallest building in Birkdale Village. While that is correct, the reality is that the Barnes & Noble building is only 30 feet tall, and so it would actually be a building that is 3.6 times the existing structure. I am hammering this point home because we have been lulled into the notion that 110 feet is totally normal and fitting because it is still less than the originally proposed 145-foot building. But as you can see, it is still too tall and out of place. A much better solution would be two 60-foot tall buildings flanking Lindholm Drive with 50-foot parking decks behind both, but that's not what's being proposed. In the Appendix A16 to the 2040 plan, the images that got the most votes for pictures that were representative of the areas that embraced the look and qualities of mixed-use areas were Baxter Village and Blakeney. Neither of them have large-scale Class A office spaces. They have a look that is consistent with the village approach to the current design of Birkdale Village. Adding a 110-foot tall all-glass structure would not be in keeping with the clearly expressed views of the respondents to that survey. There is a distinct difference between need and appropriateness. And while we might all agree that there is a justified need for Class A office space in Huntersville, the location at the entrance to Birkdale Village is not appropriate. With regards to traffic, the NCDOT has done an incomplete study that alleged that there was no need to address additional traffic concerns with regards to the proposal. Regardless of that study, it does not take a rocket scientist to know that you have an additional 400 cars entering Birkdale Village during morning rush hour, and those same cars exiting Birkdale Village during afternoon rush hour. And it will absolutely cause traffic problems. I know that some of the commissioners on the dais campaigned on addressing traffic issues if elected. Does addressing mean that you will watch it get worse as a result of your actions? To date, you have had an overwhelming majority of your constituents emphatically stating that this project is not something they want or need. You have the Huntersville staff and the planning board recommending that the proposal is denied. Everything is pointing to the reasons why it should not be approved. On the other side, you have only the developer and its paid influencers at town meetings who are advocating for the proposal, up until today. You have the 2040 plan that almost all of you participated in the creation of, and this proposal does not align with the clearly stated goals of that plan. So how can you approve it? You would be voting against the residents of Huntersville, the staff of Huntersville, the planning board, and your own plan for Huntersville if you do. That would not seem like the action of elected officials who are expected to act on behalf of the residents.
Thank you very much, sir. The next person who is signed up to speak is David Schur, and my understanding is Lisa Schur is here with you, and she has given you her 3 minutes, correct? Thank you so very much. Sir, as you come, you have 6 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
David Schur, 17142 Pennington Drive, Burkdale Village. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for allowing public comments. It's truly democracy at work. Having watched the last town meeting online, I was very impressed with the attention, excitement, and scrutiny from the Commissioners and Mayor regarding the NC 73 widening project. It was apparent that parts of the presentation were personal and struck a nerve. I hope that we can generate some fervor in getting to the denial of the Burkdale Village proposed rezoning as well. So let's get caught up. The planning staff found that the rezoning request was a significant increase in building height over the current zoning limit and is not in keeping with the spirit of the ordinance. 2, during the planning meeting, NAP's hired expert explained that most of the Class A office space inventory was below 10,000 square feet and that there was a gap from 12,000 to 30,000 square feet. Somehow, this gap in supply was supposed to prove there is a demand. Lack of supply does not prove there is a demand. In fact, lack of supply suggests lack of demand. Let me speak from experience, as I have actually relocated a business to a 30,000 square foot Class A office location. Would you like to know how many square feet were actually occupied by offices? 4,000. There are not many businesses that are looking for 12 to 30,000 square feet of office space alone. Our business, for example, needed lab and demonstration space, warehouse space, and loading docks, both flush and drive up. NAP's high-rise does not offer any of these. Also shown was a slide titled, "People Do Want to Live Near," and it included theaters, restaurants, coffee shops, public transportation, schools, grocery stores, and museums. You know what wasn't on that list? Office buildings or office space. Their own the expert didn't have that on there. 3, also during the planning meeting, here were some of the more poignant comments from the board. I feel like the people in the town of Huntersville have said over and over again that they like 3 to 4 story buildings. Going this high goes against this, and we are not listening. Another comment, I hate the height. It's going to look out of place. I feel like we put building and development before infrastructure all the time in this town, and I don't know when someone is going to put a stop to it. It was mentioned that Burkdale Place will have a 91-foot tall building. Let me point out that Burkdale Place is a greenfield project, not as concentrated a site, and the 91-foot building also sits in a lower elevation. During public comments, I had the opportunity to speak at the planning meeting and presented the following very simple model. This is to scale and represents 110 feet with the middle pencil, and the other 2 pencils represent 48 and 36 feet. Does the middle pencil look like it fits in a world with the other 2 pencils? I think not. Ultimately, the planning board voted 5-2 against recommendation of the rezoning. So now we still have some major open issues that have not been discussed. The traffic impact analysis has been based on exactly a 1-day study. April 5th, 2022. Why not November 19th, 2022? Oh yeah, that was the day of the Christmas parade and tree lighting. The point being, how valid can a 1-day study be? 2, is anyone going to vet the financial impact numbers provided by NAP? Can anyone explain the assumptions made? If the answer is no, then we certainly have not done our due diligence, and this borders on betraying the public trust. Can anyone explain how NAP is going to erect the parking structure or the office building without any impact to Lindholm Drive or Townley Road. Townley has been closed for a few weeks now without a building being demoed. If Lindholm Drive happens to be impacted, that would leave the village precariously dependent upon one exit. If this were to happen, wouldn't this be a major safety issue? What is the plan? So I've always been told, come to a meeting with solutions. So one, vote to deny the rezoning. NAP will come back with another proposal. Two, let's get some actual discussion between NAP, commissioners, and concerned citizens. Three, Commissioner Partee suggested creating an architectural review board. Brilliant. Prepare a traffic impact analysis based on an acceptable sample size. Vet the financial impacts provided by the applicant. And then let's get real about the risks and unintended consequences. I applaud Commissioner Kidwell for being so forthright about not foreseeing the unintended consequences of closing the Lindholm Circle. Is there something that could be done in the plan to alleviate the negative impact already affecting some residents? So let's get started on the solution. Step one, vote to deny the current rezoning proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next person who has signed up to speak is Nick O'Shaughnessy and Catherine Wright. I see here that, is she here? Thank you so very much. And you're giving your 3 minutes over. Thank you. Sir, you have 6 minutes as you come. Please state your name and address for the record. And okay. And I need you to the microphone, please.
Okay, I'm just going to walk back. This is what you guys are voting on. The size of the buildings is actually accurate. This
Yeah.
is the block. The white block is the 2 white blocks are the buildings in the proposal. I start 3 now. 3 minutes. Nick O'Shaughnessy, 8217 Parkton Gate Drive, Huntersville. So now we have a third iteration of the rezoning, yet it's still a 2-dimensional site plan with a lot of text. This petitioner, if he's serious, why doesn't he's had 3 attempts to make us happy, and he hasn't made us realize that is he serious? This is presumably a multi-million-dollar project. I can't recall the actual value that Susan Irvin stated. It was a lot of money. If you want to persuade people, you need to show them what it could look like in reality, not a picture of somebody else's product from another city, another state. They also included these pictures after the fact with an isometric sketch, which is a little tiny rendition of what I've built here. It's a long time since I built a model from my thesis. This model is to scale. It's 1 inch equals 3 feet. 1/8 of an inch equals 3 feet. This is 110. This is 70. These are the apartment buildings, and this is the ridge line, not the eaves line. Some of these are 30. This is 70. So all these guys are looking at a parking deck, which is probably 10 to 15 feet away. There's got to be some separation by fire code. So you've got very little daylight. You've got no sunlight. If I was living in one of those apartments and they built that parking deck in front of me, I would get out of my lease. I would just leave. You have just changed the whole terms of my lease. Same thing for these guys here. Class A office, looking at a parking deck. Parking decks are not pretty. You can put little screens on them. Everybody knows what's behind that thing. I wouldn't want to look at it, and I would not pay Class A office rent to look at a parking deck. The 2 buildings here, I'm going to do the 3 disses. I've got 3 disses in my presentation. These are disproportionate sized buildings to the rest of Birkdale. This is just one quadrant of Birkdale. These are 30 feet, and as Pete said, this is 110, which is 3.66 times the height. That's nearly 4 times the height of the original building that it's replacing. The scale is totally wrong. It's disproportionate. It's also disrespectful to the original traditional neighbourhood design concept that was approved, and then Birkdale was built from that design concept. That concept is based on human scale and small mass and texture, street front texture, shop fronts, small scale. Not, I haven't got the picture of the buildings, but not urban or suburban office park buildings. The disrespectful part of this proposal also extends to the office tenants, the residential tenants of all those people that abut these buildings. The plastic surgeon who has the second floor office here, he's not going to have any daylight in his offices. I don't think he'll be real happy because he's got a parking deck 15 feet from his windows. And I don't know how much they need natural daylight, but I'm sure he needs to be able to see people properly so they can pay for their improvements. So the next issue I've got with NAP is the prolonged disruption to the quality of life. If you're going to take down a pre-stressed, precast concrete structure, only 2 stories high, how do you do that? When you break the rebar in a pre-stressed concrete slab or a beam, it literally explodes. So you're going to have some form of screening to stop huge chunks of concrete flying into the apartments or the office windows. Those people are going to get really peed off. I'm trying to keep my language nice here, okay? Because I know you've called me on it before. I can foresee major rent abatements, business closures, and lawsuits, to be honest with you, just building the parking deck. And it's NAP's choice to go build the parking deck first. How the heck do you get precast concrete beams, which are probably 50 feet in length, how do you get them into that space after you've demolished the deck? With a crane, so you can put a tower crane in here, and you're going to use all the parking lot in front of Barnes & Noble. So Chase Bank and Chipotle don't have any parking because that's the scale of the stuff. So the crane's going to lift all the beams into there. That's very expensive because a semi 60 feet long cannot turn and get into the alley. So the logistics of them building this is really debatable. They haven't demonstrated, as previous speakers have said, they have not demonstrated to this point in time that they can even effectively deal with small contracts. We've got the splash pad or the whatever they want to call it. We've got construction contracts, we've got unfinished buildings, and we've got upfits which seem to be taking a lot longer than an upfit would normally take. Why would anybody think, if they can't finish 2 little buildings for permitting purposes, Mecklenburg County Building Standards has a 24-hour fast-track permitting process. They could get a permit in 24
Thank you, sir.
hours.
Your 6 minutes are up. The next person who is signed, thank you. The next person who is signed up to speak is Dawn Snow. And Ms. Snow, I believe Ms. Thomas Wright has given you thank you so very much for confirming that, Ms. Snow. You have 6 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Okay. Dawn Snow, 8132 Evanston Falls Road, Huntersville. First of all, I'd like to say this is not about being against development, tax revenue, or growth, but it's about doing it with the right components, the right players, and a well-thought-out plan. The first phase of the Brookdale Village redevelopment has resulted in several negative effects that are evident today. In reviewing the staff report and the past meetings for this project, it appears that it was rubber-stamped up to the board without a thorough analysis or plan, as not a single issue with the 2040 plan was identified, and none of the negative aspects of this project were considered or planned for. Some of these negative effects have included the non-conforming and unfinished kiosks cluttering the open space, which is taken away from the character and charm. Just look at the big blue box when you come into the village. The removal of the 78 parking spaces, along with the increased traffic that has resulted in people using our neighborhood for parking and blocking our streets. The valet which is a nice concept, it doesn't work well because people aren't willing to pay $12 to park. And lastly, one of the most harmful effects was the abandonment of half of the Lindholm Roundabout, which provided connectivity, which is a core concept of a traditional neighborhood development. Removing it deprived our residents and guests of one of our two primary means of egress out of the neighborhood, which we enjoyed for 20 years. Kind of ironic and nonsensical to take away such an important roundabout without considering the negative effects when the town is building them all over the place and promoting them. While half of the roundabout for egress was removed, the other half remains, which has the unwanted effect of driving people searching for parking spaces into our neighborhood. It also increases traffic on our narrow streets since drivers can no longer go around in a full circle. This clearly does not support a 2040 policy of improving connectivity. Now, I am not blaming the board for this, as it was a new board at the time who relied upon the planning board and the staff recommendations. But the planning staff and the board have recognized the negative effects of this much larger and even more impactful R2201 rezoning, and as such are now recommending denial based on the following 2040 policies. The first one is LU 5.1, which says allow for more intense development only where transportation infrastructure already exists. With the current NC 73 improvements, we know that NCDOT always kicks the can down the road. They're infamous for that. Just look what they did with Catawba, and they kicked the can down the road just recently. And they're going to do it again with 73. When combined with the under-construction development across the street, known as Birkdale Place, the additional buildings and their proposed uses will create a parking and traffic nightmare. Why approve this and worsen an already chronic infrastructure situation? The second policy, LU 11, says the unique character of Huntersville's neighborhoods must be protected from the negative impacts of redevelopment, and building mass and scale should be respected in relation to existing buildings. A max building height of 48 feet was put into place to be in compliance with our neo-traditional pedestrian-oriented development standards and to create a friendly human scale that is akin to the character of a village. Both scale and architecture have to be right to maintain character, but the sheer size and mass alone of the proposed 110-foot office building / conference center is 3.6 times taller than the Barnes & Noble and 2.5 times the height of the tallest building, and it will destroy the remaining aesthetics and ambience of the village. It will be completely out of context and scale. Additionally, there has been no real evidence presented to justify the need for this massive Class A office building, nor the necessity of installing it in Birkdale Village. But the real reason is pretty clear. If you approve the office building, which is the largest and most egregious component of the original proposal, then you have no grounds to reject any further rezoning requests for NAP's hotel and apartments, which according to NAP has just been tabled for now. Furthermore, why would the town even consider further damaging our neighborhood when there is duplication of everything NAP wants right across the street? The last policy is blend new development with existing neighborhoods. NAP has previously stated that their building's architecture is more of a buffer addressing the NC 73 highway corridor rather than being complementary to the village. This is blatantly obvious in the bland suburban examples that they have shown in their presentations. And the Warby Parker store design does not demonstrate any effort to blend in. In closing, the town relies upon the recommendations of the planning board, and the planning board in turn relies upon the recommendations of the planning staff, and each needs to trust that due diligence has been done. Let's not make the same mistake that was made with the Lindholm right-of-way by approving this much larger rezoning when there are significant inconsistencies with the 2040 plan policies, and when it's not in the spirit of the regulations as noted by the planning staff and the planning board. Please follow the planning board recommendation and deny this proposed rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person who has signed up to speak is Susan Irvin and Robert Irvin. Are you here? Thank you, sir. And you're giving your 3 minutes? All right. So, Ms. Irvin, you have 6 minutes. Please, as you come, please state your name and address for the record. Susan Irvin, Irvin Law Group, and 19726 Zion Avenue in Cornelius, North Carolina. As you all know, I am the representative, the legal representative for North American Properties. I want to talk briefly about the process, because really I think the main thing about the process is that we were given an option. The only option that North American Properties had where they could collaborate with the town leaders to come up with a design that the town leaders found was compatible with Burkdale architecture and for the town. We were asked at the planning board to drill down into the design of the architecture and to come up with a design that was compatible and that the town felt was compatible. Under the special use permit process, which we'd agreed to follow along with the zoning from the beginning, we received a legal determination from the town that we could not speak with town leaders as long as that process was pending. And we wanted to get the input of the town leaders as we went through this design. And so the legal determination was that was our only option, and that this project could be approved using the conditional zoning process. And I agree, the conditional zoning process is very flexible and it allows for collaboration between the parties. So, for instance, if there were an ARB going through the conditional zoning process, we could have made use of that ARB. We could not do it as a part of the special use permit process. So we made that choice. Later in the planning board meeting, planning staff preferred that we would have gone through the special use permit process. I think we made the right decision to try to get a collaborative result. I think the design that we have is beautiful, and it is articulated brick. North American Properties architects spent about a month designing that building based on input from the town leaders, and it has great detail, much more than you would normally have in zoning. So the result was good. I think everyone agreed that the project was good. I'm going to kind of go off script here and just kind of speak from the heart and say how amazed I am at the people who are here in favor of this project. And, you know, I've been a zoning attorney for 39 years. People don't come out to the town board if they're in favor, They just don't. You know, they read about it in the paper and they say, well, this is great. You know, there's going to be a parking garage. I can go there on the weekend. You know, I can park, you know, for free on a 450 additional spaces. There's Class A office that are going to help the businesses in Burkdale. You know, I don't have a problem with this. And so then they won't come. They have no reason to come. They don't write the town board. You know, it's very rare to have people actually come out in favor. And I really respect the people that are here, because I know that it has been a hard road for you if you make objections to some of the comments that have been made. And I do agree with Ms. Williams, who spoke earlier, that there is a very large constituency in Huntersville who, like her, feels like this is a great project. They love what has happened in Burkdale. We've been going to Burkdale since 2001, and we stopped going when it started failing. It was kind of like a ghost town. And we love what is going on there. I love Warby Parker, and I love Beck Bags. I'm sorry that they didn't stay beyond their 3-month term, but I understand, and I hope that they will come back if there's an office building there, because I think having people during the weekday will help those businesses.
This has been a difficult process, but I hope that more people will come out and tell the board how they feel, that they're in favor of the process, because I do think that at this point, that is the most important thing, sending emails and coming to the town board meeting. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. That is all of the individuals who have signed up for public comments. We will now move to agenda changes. Board members, are there any agenda changes? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Phillips and Munger. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda? There's a motion, there is a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the agenda has been adopted. We are going to take a brief moment for those of you who may want to leave. We'll take like 2 minutes. We'll take 2 minutes for everyone.
Was your watch going off?
Yes, because I average 17 stands a day.
Dude, since I've taken over the business, I went from walking.
Agenda.
Second.
There is a motion and there is a second. Thank you, Commissioner Kidwell. All those in favor of the consent agenda? Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. The consent agenda is adopted. There are no public hearings this evening, and we will now move to other business. Item 10A, consider setting filing fees for mayor and board of commissioners for the 2023 election. Is there any discussion on this? Looks like we need to set some fees. Commissioner Munger.
I'll go ahead and be the outlier. I think it should definitely be increased to keep the integrity of the, if people actually want to run, $5 and $10 is just not enough to really, it's almost a joke. So I'm going to throw out the number, and I know I'm going to be the outlier, but I'm going to say it should be up to $50 for Board of Commissioners and $100 for mayor.
All right. Is there any other discussion? Is there a motion? Was that a motion? No, it was not a motion. I didn't think it was a motion. I was like, hold on. I thought there was more discussion involved here. Commissioner Kidwell?
Honestly, I don't disagree with Commissioner Munger on this. You know, I pulled up yeah, I know, write it down. I'm agreeing with Commissioner Munger. But, you know, this board up here averaged $12,000, a little over $12,000 in funds for the last election. You know, so running for this seat, it does take capital. And while the increase in pay will help some of those who aren't self-employed and well-off, or whatever you want to call it, able to run for this
position and be a part of this board, you know, it is, I think it is time to get some of the outliers. And over the years, I've seen some wild things. I've seen a couple of people file and come up here and, you know, during the debates, they talk about, you know, free goats for people and just random things. And so I think it's time we do that. I also, we were provided some data, you know, looking around at what other communities do of our size, and I think it's, you know, as the second largest municipality in the area next to Mecklenburg or the city of Charlotte, I think it is time we do raise the rates. So.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Phillips?
I can't meet you guys there, but I'll meet you at 50 and 25. I think it is, the fees do need to be raised. Been around for a long time watching people do this, and there are people who make a mockery. It is your right to file, but I also think that to preserve the integrity of this board, especially as the population grows in this town, we need to be mindful. But I think 25 and 50 is setting a new tone. I mean, that's 5 times, and that's an increase, 5 times the amount. So I'll meet y'all there.
I will say, when the email went out, I went looking at the top 20 municipalities in the state. I looked at the 2 above us, Gastonia and Jacksonville. And then I looked at the 2 underneath us, Apex and Chapel Hill. And what I found was interesting. Gastonia, get this, and the filing fee for mayor, and I don't understand the cents, but it's $171.90 filing fee for mayor. It's $147.90 for council. In Jacksonville, it's 5 and 5, which surprised me. I actually made 2 phone calls to confirm that because that just seemed odd. Apex, which is what I would consider our sister city. We were incorporated the exact same day, same year. Our populations are like within a few hundred. Their filing fee was $75 for mayor, and council was $50. And then I also looked at Chapel Hill. The mayor's $10 and the council's $5 for the last election. I don't know what they're doing this year. So I looked at it and kind of took the average, and, you know, so 65 and 50, well, 65.47, and for mayor and council's 51.97. But, I mean, I would round up one way or the other, or down. But I just think that's some food for thought for folks as you wrestle with this decision on what it should be. But I do agree with the sentiment that it does need to be modified. Commissioner Kovacs.
I agree. I think it needs to be raised because we do have, in almost every race, there's people that file and then decide not to run and then end up with 1,000 votes somehow. And I think that when it's a little bit more of an investment, you're going to have a little bit less of that. I think that might be what Commissioner Phillips was referring to. You know, the process is great. We want everyone to apply if you want to run, but it's a little hard when you kind of have those ghost candidates, and hopefully this would kind of sway it. I don't have a strong opinion, though, on the price between the 2 of you, so I will defer to the rest of you.
Commissioner Partee, you have thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's very important that we maintain the integrity of those that of this board, and not make a mockery of the campaign process. So therefore, there needs to be an increase in the filing fees, but what that number is, we have to come to an agreement.
Commissioner Boone.
Can anybody tell me what it was before it was $5 and $10? Or how long has it been, that amount?
So for over 27 years. Okay.
Well, it's, I'll wait to see what everybody has to say, but I'm nowhere close to 100, that's for sure.
Commissioner Kidwell?
Make a motion. I'd like to change the filing fees for the town of Huntersville. $25 for Board of Commissioners, $50 for mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, is there any discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner Munger?
Heard what everyone said, and I'd like to make an amended motion.
A substitute motion?
Substitute, my apologies, a substitute motion. I like it that people are keeping me in line here. I'd like to make the filing fee for Commissioner $40 and $80 for mayor.
Is there a second? And? Okay. Commissioner Kovacs has seconded that. So we will vote on the substitute motion. The substitute motion is that the filing fees would be set for $80 for mayor, $40 for Board of Commissioners. There is a second. All those in favor? And any opposed? All right, that motion fails. We now go back to the original motion. The motion was to set the filing fees for mayor at $50 and the Board of Commissioners filing fee at $25. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion carries. That is 5-1. All right. We will now move to item 10B, and that is the fiscal year 24 goals. We will be discussing and considering adopting our fiscal year 24 goals. Mr. Roberts.
Mayor, I will not bore you with reading every word of the goals, but trying to hit it as a highlight. I know, hopefully you saw this at your budget planning workshop back in January. The board decided to put the goals in what I'll say 8 buckets, for lack of better terms: land use development / planning, finance, public safety, transportation infrastructure, parks and recreation / greenways, housing, sustainability / natural resources / environment, and then facilities / asset management. And their goals underneath those buckets. More than happy to read every word to you if you would like. But hopefully they were in your packet, hopefully they're in front of you, and hopefully you've seen this at least 1 or 2 times prior to tonight.
Is there a motion on the floor? Commissioner Partee.
Thank you, Mayor. I make a motion that we accept the goals as written and presented by the town manager.
There is a motion, and Commissioner Boone, you seconded, correct? Thank you. And a second. Any additional discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips.
I would like to make a substitute motion to approve the town goals, but under facilities and asset management, we have listed decide on location and move forward with a contract regarding town hall. We've already decided on our location, so I feel like that's redundant, especially based on the hours we spent during retreat talking about this.
So there is a motion to remove, under facility asset management, decide on a location and move forward with a contract regarding
Yes,
town
or
hall.
Commissioner Partee could amend his motion to include that, if that's okay.
My motion's amended.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll amend my second.
All right. So we go back to the original motion that is now amended with that removal under facilities and asset management. There's the motion and there's a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. We now move to mayor and commissioner reports. Let's start with Commissioner Phillips. Mayor Pro Tem Phillips, you have any reports this evening?
Yes. The World Championship of Bass Fishing Red Crest starts Wednesday.
Major League Fishing's championship events will feature the top 40 anglers in the world fishing for a top payout of $300,000. Fishing tournament will operate out of Blythe Landing and run from March 8th to the 12th. National TV coverage will be showcased across two 2-hour episodes premiering on July 1st and July 8th on Discovery Channel. The Ray City Classic Youth Soccer Tournament was held this past weekend. 171 total teams completed in the Charlotte Independence Soccer Club event. Play in our area was held at Bailey Road Park, Bradford Park, and Richard Berry Park. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Boone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say hello to the chief and the new chief-elect. Good evening, and the old chief, I'd sign up for that bass tournament if I were you. And Madam Mayor, the Huntersville Fire Department's turning 100 years old this year, and like the true spirit of firefighters, they're going to come out with a pretty darn good-looking T-shirt for a fundraiser. So more on that to follow. So as soon as I hear something, I'll let everybody know. That's my
Please
report.
do. I'm sure we all want one of those. Commissioner Kovacs.
So from the Lake Norman Chamber, this Wednesday, March 8th, from 1:30 to 2:30, officials with Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools will host a focus group at the Lake Norman Chamber Randy Marion Conference Room to discuss the search for a new Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools superintendent. This meeting will last only 1 hour and is open to the public. If you or your business or someone you know would like to provide input on the selection of the leader of our public school system, please plan to attend. Tuesday, March 14th, from 8 to 10 a.m. is the WINS Lake Norman Chamber Women's Open Network Group, a forum for women to connect in a professional yet informal atmosphere over coffee and morning refreshments. This month's speaker is Jody Golab with DKMS, an organization that helps give hope and saves lives. This will be at Brick Row. And on Thursday, March 16th, is the Chamber's sold-out annual meeting at the Peninsula Club. The Chamber will recognize our very own Sam James as the 2022 Business Person of the Year. Boomerang Water in Davidson founders Jason Dibble and Jared Freund are the 2022 Entrepreneurs of the Year, and Pastor Pharrell Lemmings will receive the Duke Energy Citizenship and Service Award, among some other recognitions that evening. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Kidwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The kickoff meeting for the CRTPO redesignation happened this past week, and it was more of a get-to-know the subcommittee and see where people stand and what the priorities are. Waiting for our next meeting, which will be next month. It's broken into about 6 different categories, and we have our work cut out for us. I have another thing to talk about, but I'll do that after we're done.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Commissioner Partee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I want to say thank you to Chief Hoyle for your service to this town. You look good in civilian clothes, so moving forward, if you need a tailor, just come to Commissioner Partee and I'll help you out. Major Graham, thank you for what you do, and congratulations on your promotion. And I want to thank both of you for my commemorative shield that you presented to me. I'm going to cherish it. I have it in my trophy case, and I just want to thank you for that. I have no reports, Madam Mayor, but also I want to advocate for gun safety, especially in homes where guns are stored and children are present. Accidental and intentional discharge causes serious injury and death. The Huntersville Police Department has free gun safety locks. Organizations and individuals can contact the police department or me at dpartee@huntersville.org. Let's be child safe. And finally, I want to advocate for the Cool Kids Clubhouse in honor of Dan Jensen, located here in Huntersville. Cool Kids Clubhouse mission is devoted to improving the quality of life for pediatric cancer patients. Check their website out, and if you can, donate. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Munger.
I drew on the board. My apologies. Just want to restate that the Department of Environmental Quality will be holding a public hearing on Colonial Pipeline's wastewater treatment plant permit application on March 16th at 6 p.m. at CPCC Orancas Campus, 11920 Bearhoff Drive, Huntersville. And I'm going to deviate here just to point out that had this been said in front of a room full of people who got upset about a 110-foot building, imagine how upset they would be about 1 million gallons of water being released, of gas that had been spilled and was processed and being released back into a stream. Could you imagine how many of them would have showed up for this meeting? It bothers me still that Commissioner's report is at the end of my stump. On March 3rd, 2023, the Huntersville Ordinance Advisory Board held their meeting. One of the items covered was where exactly we should have trees planted and where sidewalks should be placed in new developments to reduce the ongoing costs of repairing sidewalks due to root damage. On March 1st, 2023, the Public Arts Commission met first at the unveiling of the Ascension sculpture at our trailhead across the street from here, and that is such a thing of beauty. If you have not seen it, please go see it. See it as the sun sets. It's amazing. Love that thing. After we spent time reviewing, after that, we spent time reviewing the artwork for the peace poles, which you approved earlier tonight in the consent agenda. And last but not least, as always, if you have the opportunity to give, please consider supporting our local nonprofits. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Munger. My mayor's report is, and I actually agree with you on the shifting of the mayor and commissioner reports, because it would have been nice to have some of this information with those still sitting in the seats. Tomorrow, right here in this room, at 6 p.m., 6 to 8, is CAT's Microtransit public meeting. That's tomorrow evening, 6 to 8 p.m. right here. I hope all of you are able to come and weigh in as we look at what microtransit can do for Huntersville specifically, but truly for for North Mecklenburg as a whole. And it's my understanding, Bobby, you need to correct me, but it's my understanding, I just heard that they are looking to replace the Village Rider with microtransit. And I think that's something we need to have more conversations around as well. The last thing that I want to bring up is the Mayor's Fitness Challenge. I challenge each commissioner to sign up on huntersville.org and register to participate. We're logging our minutes, and we are competing against Cornelius and Davidson. And I'm telling you now, the smack talk is real. So I need every resident, every commissioner, every staff member, include myself, we all need to get in there and start logging minutes. The kickoff is on March the 12th. It will be kicked off at Bailey's Park. It's a Sunday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. So a big event, and that kickoff will kick us off for the week in regards to the minutes that we exercise. So I hope to see all of you there. With that, that is all of my report this evening. Any closing comments? Commissioner Kidwell?
Ladies first.
Commissioner Kovacs?
I just wanted to provide a community highlight. The Buzz City Robotics from David B. Waymer Center traveled to Asheville over the weekend, and they brought home the district championship title, trophy, plaque, and banner back here to Huntersville. So their next First Robotics, it's called the First Robotics, the next First Robotics competition will be on March 18th at the Mecklenburg County Convention Center, so please go and cheer them on if you are able to.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Kidwell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. An email was sent out by CMS to let, over the next 2 weeks, the district will administer student surveys. One's a climate survey for grades 5 through 12 for the Title IX efforts, and a social emotional learning screener for grades 3 through 12. Families may view these surveys by clicking the CMS Surveys banner on their homepage. You have the option to have your children opt out of these surveys if you so feel the need. And this also affects charter schools. I had to contact our school and find out that these surveys were going on as well. These are purely non-academic surveys that do not impact your child's grades. So I would recommend looking into them and deciding if you want your children to be a part of it or not.
Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn? There was such a delay there. I thought y'all wanted to
Second.
stay all night. There is a motion, there is a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Good night, Huntersville.